And welcome back. Good morning. Welcome back to the program. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning, third day, and the calendar 2026. Karibu sana to the program. My name is Victor Olo at KBC Channel 1. So let's take a look at basically what's in the political arena. Bigger Tuesday, we are taking people and politics. And already my guests are in studio. Be taking you through the front page of our local dailies very shortly. Let me start with Honorable Bernard Kitur, who is a Member of Parliament, Nandi Hills constituency. Mheshimiwa, good morning.
Good morning,
You're well?
I'm well, thank you.
Karibu sana.
Good morning, viewers. Happy New Year. I know I have not had the opportunity to come and have the interaction, so I'm looking forward for a healthy conversation.
Absolutely.
Because this is the year of politics.
We can hear the drum beats.
Yes, absolutely.
From the other side of the mountain, being beaten thoroughly.
That is Kenya for us. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Victor.
Okay. And next to him is Member of Parliament, Kibra constituency, Honorable Peter Orero, otherwise known as Mwalimu. Mheshimiwa, good morning.
Good morning and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year to you.
So far, so good. You're well?
Very well.
About your constituency?
We have been on recess and we have now been meeting our members in the constituency.
Yes.
But as my colleague has said, it's like the politics have begun. Yeah. The mountain and the valleys. I don't know where others fall.
I don't know which year it is right now. You tell us what it is, but it's so interesting how the politics in this country is being played. The moment we have our last paper on the ballot box, another cycle begins immediately. Interesting. Okay, let me start with the front page of our local dailies. Mheshimiwa, what do you have on the front page of the Star?
Star is IBC wants sweeping reforms ahead of 2027.
What does it say there? Explainer?
Of course, is aid side that the chairman of the commission wants to fill long-standing gaps, contradictions and ambiguities that have complicated election management in past cycles.
Yeah.
Elections don't begin on polling day. They begin with a clear, predictable and harmonized legal framework. Without this, the most well-intentioned preparation are exposed to unnecessary risks.
Okay.
Yes.
So what do you make of that? Because I think, you know, the chairman, Ethicon, has been, you know, on another trajectory to reform the IEBC. And we've had this discussion over and over again. The reforms in the IEBC, the IEC way back then, the Isaac Hassan, now we have got the Chebukati Commission, now we have got Ethicon Commission, but still, we still have a lot of loose ends in the commission itself. What do you make of that headline?
Now, of course, you know this commission was just formed the other day.
Yes.
I think we have been having inactive, basically, a not working commission because the chairman was just appointed the other day, and therefore it is giving very little room for the IBC to maneuver since the election is nearing, that is next year. I think the gaps that they're trying to correct is about the election offenses. You know, people also wanted referendum. How do you align referendum with the election dates?
Yes.
And you know, referendum basically should be before the election so that people can make informed judgments. And there are other sections within the commission. You know, the elections don't just begin on a day. We have legal frameworks which must be aligned with the timelines of the election. Now, these legal frameworks require that they must secure maybe ballot papers early enough with not just predictable features, with features that can not be removed, obliterated, or tainted with other things.
That's security
the security features.
Yes.
So all these need a lot of legal frameworks and a lot of financing. They need to have proper finances. Like now, the other day they were saying they are lacking maybe 13 billion as debts, what they have not been given for these elections. So all this require a lot of juggling around. So I think this is what the chairman Erastus, he's called Erastus.
Yes.
The other name is difficult for me to...
Ethical.
Yeah. I think it comes from my background. We don't pronounce such words. So I think he's coming with good ideas. But what about the environment? Is it conducive for him to implement this?
Even the timelines
with these ideas. Just my colleague has said it is already a political mood. You can feel the drums beating. So I think we really need to focus on this, and the chairman of the commission must stand his ground on some of these gaps that he needs to fulfill regarding the political framework that is required and legal actions that is needed to be carried out before the election time. Yes.
Okay. Mheshimiwa, he's talked about the timeline that we have, but it also means that Parliament will also have a very key role to play, because some of them, yes, I know it's an independent commission, but the input of the National Assembly will also be needed in this.
Absolutely, of course. Because there is the issue of the budget process,
right,
and there is the issue of the amendments of the various laws that might be important or critical, because there's so many dynamics that have happened between 2022 and as now. For instance, there's a lot of technological advancements, and where Kenyans are now, and as I was challenging somebody, telling them this coming election, everybody must be prepared for an avalanche of the technological advancement. Even the way the processes will be run during the campaigns will be largely on the space of technology. But maybe allow me, first of all, Victor, to really applaud the new commission. I've had an opportunity to have an interaction with the chairperson, Ethicon, when he appeared before our committee. Their preparations, you remember the time we were having a number of by-elections that are coming in. When the commission had been fully set, they appeared before our committee. I happened to be the committee of the on the implementation of the constitution, and therefore we usually have all these commissions report to us, and they appeared before us. And the way they have organized themselves, I want to give an assurance to all Kenyans that this is a commission that is well set. They are well qualified. And the Secretariat was actually, completely, well set up as well. If you can see what has happened in the recent by-elections, that is just a test of what these people can be able to do in the very near future. So the only challenges that are going to be there is mainly the budget process. And that is where now I and Orero will have to really work to make sure that we support the commission to have the budget that they're talking about. They talked about the pending bills that they have, quite huge indeed. But I think also that's a space that we really need as Parliament to really set our foot, tighten on it. And secondly, as I said, the critical law amendments that needs to be now brought into place to fill into the gaps of what has happened in the past. There are several gaps, the challenges that happened, in the past, maybe during the electoral process, how the reporting was being done, all those small bits and pieces that they were able to notice that there were gaps that were there in 2022 that need to be rectified now going into 2027. So those are just the few areas that I think we will be very keen. And as we said, politics is now picking up in our country, and we have to leave a better Kenya than we found it, even as leaders. A new generation comes in, we want to leave a country that then we have a peaceful elections, and most of these largely, even a peaceful elections, then the elections must be some sort of transparent.
As a commission, if elections were to be held next week, what would be the stumbling block for a nation with the current IBC as it is constituted?
I think they are well set. It's just the budgeting processes. It's about the resource allocation. That is the biggest thing. But as long as we have them well resourced, then, and of course we have checks and balances. Like now, as we keep calling them to come to appear before us, if there are things that we feel they have a challenge, or when they feel there are things that they want us to assist them, they appear before us and give and put some of these demands on the table. But then we need this and this and this to be able to actualize our work. But in my view, I can tell you, it was just the commission that was not, in terms of the commissioners, they were not fully constituted. But right now, they are well set.
The house is full.
In my view, they are well set. And let's prepare for what is to happen in the future. I'm sure we'll have credible elections.
Absolutely. What do you have on the front page of the Daily Nation?
On front page of the Daily Nation, Victor, and viewers.
Maybe I just interject. One of the issues that will, if the elections were to be held, one of the things that will not have been done is mass voter registration. The timelines are very limited, although there is a continuous voter registration. But you know, the last 1 or so years, we have had this idea of the young people. They call them themselves the Gen Zs. Although in my constituency, we call them the youths. So most of them have not registered, and the timelines, we have a very short timeline. Yeah. But there are also other requirements as boundary delimitations, especially looking at the number of constituencies and even the wards in this country. We have had a surge of population growth, and people who have attained the required voting rights, that is above 18 years. This determines the constituency delimitations, the boundaries. So I think this is also a challenge, that it also brings a constitutional crisis, and they must know how to tackle this so that we don't have litigations after the elections have been carried out. So I think these are some of the few challenges that we need to deal with before we get into real electioneering process. Yes.
It seems you have a lot of work once you resume after recess. I mean, there's so much of the House to handle.
Yeah, I can have maybe a different perspective from my colleague. Okay. You know, Kenyans naturally like the last minute. Of course, you had said if the election was to be held today.
I don't know how it is in your constituencies. Let me start with you, Mheshimiwa. How is the process in your constituency, Nandi Hills, for example?
What process, sir?
The registration. It's an ongoing process.
Yes, it's an ongoing process. And as I said, Kenyans like the last minute. Yeah. And secondly, I think the flow of information is getting different now, because I told you we are now beginning to embrace technological advancement in terms of the flow of information. I can tell you there will be a high level of registration of voters. As it is right now, the figures are low, generally across the lethargy. The normal Kenyan lethargy is really low. People are not, they usually wait for the last minute. But I can tell you we are going to have many young people in our country, trust you me, registering to be voters, because they've always been known to be the ones that
Do you even monitor, as you go across the constituencies, do you even monitor?
Yes, we have the figures. We've always been
You have the figures?
Yes, we've always been given the figures, but it's very low.
How is Kibra doing?
Very well. Yesterday, I think we registered over 100 people. Sometimes it's 70, sometimes it goes low, sometimes even only 20.
There needs to be a lot of...
So it needs a lot of information transmission and encouragement, especially on the young people and the young ladies. The young ladies, most of them do not know about the values of casting a vote. And I think this must be brought to the attention of the young ladies and the young people, that those who don't vote really are the people who contribute to bad governance in any country.
Correct.
Because you need to vote to have a say on how governance is carried out.
And the biggest challenge also I think we're having in some of the regions where we come from, Victor, is, and many other constituencies, the constituency where Rero comes from apparently is, Cosmo, within the city. It's just not too far off. You can be able to find the center where they're doing the registration. But in our case, you find it's being done at the sub-county offices. So it's quite sometimes, where we come from, people have big lands, so it's quite far to be able to get there. So I think when we'll have another mass registration, and that being in the use of social media to be able to speak out the benefits of the same, we are going to have a huge number of Kenyans going for the registration process.
Can you give us the front page of the Daily Nation?
How 1 trillion body debt will hit you. Kenyans' loan burden has risen to over 12 trillion and higher than the recommended ceiling.
So how will it hit you?
In my view, I think this is sensational, because every budget, they usually a budget cap. So I think what they had said in this particular bit is that we might have to then go into borrowing domestically, so which then is going to crowd out, when I went through reading just to understand a bit, is they were saying the private sector might have it a challenge to be able to access the funds, because government will have been, the institutions, financial institutions would rather lend to government because it's more secure and they are guaranteed of the repayments. But in my view, these are just the normal dynamics. Of course, there's been good trajectory in terms of the economic growth of our country from every sector. So these budget gaps are normal, and our economy is expanding. As the economy is expanding, then also expect as well that borrowings must also expand, but not in a larger manner, because you see, we might not again be taxing Kenyans more. So if Mbadi has chosen that he wants to maybe, as he plugs in on the budget caps that is now going to be existing, he might want to borrow from the banks, that might then crowd the private sector from borrowing. But in my view, I think these are things that it might be a bit too sensational in my view, but I think these are just the normal dynamics of economic
You want to chime on that?
Although I'm not an economist, but I understand that you see our current debts hit about 11 trillion. This is both at the domestic level and the external borrowing. When you do a comparative analysis on the past regimes and the present regimes, and although the times have changed, when you look at the Kibaki's time, you'd realize maybe the borrowing, the external debt and the domestic debt was normally almost at 50-50. You would realize maybe external debt is 4.5 trillion and also the domestic debt could be the same. But looking at it, when you have a domestic borrowing to a tune of over 1 trillion, the expectation is that most of the local banks might rush to lend to the government because they have definite paying period, and they will not be they will be clearing their debts promptly. This leaves the small and micro medium-sized enterprises might not now succeed. When you look at the medium-sized enterprises, you know, they employ a lot of Kenyans. Like in my constituency, the informal settlement, most of them are involved in the small, micro, medium-sized enterprises. They sell small commodities, and they require the local banks to lend them the monies. Yeah. And when now the banks, all of them, are geared to lending the government, the borrowing now, it will go down. In fact, when you look at the borrowing of the small-sized enterprises, it has come down. I think this year, the percentage, I'm not sure of the percentages, but I think it has gone down drastically. So we need, I think, to also support the local investors, the small-size, medium enterprises. But this might be very temporary as the economy stabilizes.
Just Victor, maybe I like the summary that Orero has actually put across. I don't
like
know.
The summary.
He claims not to be.
That he's not an economist.
He's not an economist, but apparently I'm looking at the statistics here, and everything he's saying is so factual. But I think in summary, you would see in Moi's period, the foreign debt was at 394 billion in terms of the borrowing, and the local debt was 236 billion. In Kibaki's time, he left it at 1.8 trillion, which was 50-50, both foreign and local. In Uhuru's time, there was a growth of from 1.8 trillion to 8.7 trillion, which still was at 50-50. So when it came to His Excellency William Ruto's reign, it is at foreign debt is 5.5, while the local debt is at 6.5 trillion. And true to what Orero said, there's been a credit to small business has reduced significantly from 7.9% to 0.2%.
Yeah.
So that is quite drastic, as you mentioned. But in my view, I think also the government has been keen not to focus on external borrowing. Yeah. And that is why we are building reserves, like what we are talking about, the issue of the savings. But then we can be able to not only be borrowing from the banks, but we can borrow also from, funds like, NSSF and the rest as we build their buffers into the future. So in my view, I think to stabilize also foreign, the payments that have been going out, the previous government focused mainly mainly in most of the loans that were taken, were in foreign denominated currencies, and that is why we've been having great challenges paying most of our monies to interest abroad. So I think for William Ruto, he is more of a focus locally than doing it externally.
Great. Thank you, gentlemen. Now, on the front page of the Standard newspaper, the one-term plan. That's also on the front page of the Standard newspaper. And the three gentlemen here is former President, you'll excuse me, I'll use a lot of former here. Former President Uhuru Kenyatta,
former Vice President,
Kalonzo Musyoka, and former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. What is the Standard trying to report here is that there is some fresh details which has now emerged on how former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo is brokering a truce between ex-President Uhuru Kenyatta and former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua to forge a united opposition against President William Ruto in 2027. Multiple sources say that the plan took shape at a meeting in Nigeria attended by Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, where the leaders agreed on the need for a single formidable challenger. And now plans are now underway to make it happen, sometimes in the course of this month. So, is it a case of organizing the House of Mumbi, Mheshimiwa Orero?
At times can really change. When it has just reminded me,
yes,
that when Kalonzo was a vice president, Uhuru was still nowhere. I think he was still a minister of finance.
Yes.
And then later on, Uhuru becomes the president, and Kalonzo remains now in the opposition. So things can really change. And that shows that in politics, there is no permanent enemy.
You can now confirm that.
Yeah, I think when we look at that,
yes,
the photos there, my official and interpretation of what is there, everybody thought that because of the supremacy battles and ideological gaps between the most powerful central figureheads, that is Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and Rigathi Gachagua, their mode of political operandi, how they operate, is quite divergent and are at variance. But when you see them come together, it means that in politics we cannot have permanent enemies. And this can only now be directed that they want to come together and bring their votes so that they can oppose the incumbents. I have been around for some time that one day in politics can be a very long time. One time when the Ford Kenya and Ford was completely united, I remember when Kenneth Matiba went for treatment outside. And his people, as it was said that time, where his people then means his supporters from his region, said that he had to contest the presidency. And he went and contested the presidency. And that
message was delivered when he was still abroad. Yes.
And that is how the opposition lost that election. I almost, without doubt, that in the next 6 or so months, there will be a totally different lineup in terms of political alignments, because politics is about self-interest. It plays a big role that people look at the self-interest. I am imagining when the conditions of Rigathi Gachagua were lifted in the court environments and was told that he is able to vie for presidency, and his impeachment, the court battles were lifted. I doubt whether he would unite with anybody else to leave the presidency. So this will depend on a lot. Many things will play out in the near future. But from that photo, it shows that they are bridging the gap between the former president and the former immediate vice president.
Yes.
You know, both of them are, two of them are former vice. One was a vice president, the other one was a deputy president. So I believe that it shows that they want to consolidate their voting basis.
Yes.
And this looks for me that they want to depend on their numerical strength in terms of numbers in this country.
Okay.
I look at it that leadership must be diversified. We must not use our numerical strength in a manner that is going to upset the political environment in a country.
Yeah.
Which work it will before we take a break.
Yes.
We are just taking a break in 1 minute. But then, just under 1 minute.
Yes. No, in my view, I think that conversation...
No permanent enemies, no permanent...
Absolutely.
friends.
You know, the same person, the former deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua, was the one who was really fighting Uhuru Kenyatta like nobody's business.
Yeah.
You remember the Wamitego thing. So, and things just changed.
When they took the Ambusis, I was one of them. I was one of the people who went to help Uhuru Kenyatta. I went to his farm.
In Uplands?
Yeah, in Uplands.
Is it Northlands?
Northlands, yeah.
Yeah, but in my view,
Yeah.
the politics of Kenya is going to change. By the way, even these one-term statements that are being mentioned, I think that President William Ruto has lifted to another level the kind of politics that Kenya is going to have. Let me tell you, instead of having all those meetings, you know what they need to do? Let them come up with issues, agendas for Kenya, a proper manifesto that is better than William Ruto. Any other stories, it is going to flop. The issue of tribalizing our country is slowly but surely dying out, Victor. The future that we are building within this year, you are going to see the conversation is purely going to be based on issues. Take it to the bank.
I can see my colleague is a real convert. You know? He's aligned to the policies.
That is the way to go.
He wants to explain them better than the owner of those policies.
Yeah.
And so we are taking
I saw a
I want us to get into details, because was this was it eminent that there was going to be a truce in the house of Mumbi? What was it going to portend to the voters in Mount Kenya region? And now, what is alleged to be a handshake in the offing, what is it going to make in the political landscape, nationally speaking? Let's talk about that when we come back. Wanjiku Thiga, who is the youth president of DCP, will be on set with us shortly. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. Is it now a point of political realignment? It's this season. Let's just say the political transfer season is here, the political realignments, and in particular, one of the biggest stories that is making headlines today is that truce between former President Uhuru Kenyatta and, of course, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Welcoming Wanjiku Thiga, who is the youth president, DCP. Karibu sana.
Thank you for having me.
Good to see you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Karibu. Now, let's just start from where we stopped. You must be so happy about this headline. Were you aware that this was going to happen at some point? There is no coincidence here.
Yeah, this is what we expected. It's important moving forward as a country.
You expected for how long were you expecting this to happen?
Ever since the conversation around the beef between His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua and Uhuru Kenyatta, I knew to reach a point. These are people who work together. His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua used to be a PA to Uhuru Kenyatta. And people who have worked together know each other, even at a personal level, deeply. Then it's mandated that even if you have difference in opinion, in ideologies, there's a point of collaboration that has to come back. And even for the betterment of this nation, it's important for the two powerful people to sit and move forward. Yeah.
So
in fact, even chart a path
it
forward.
was just quote-unquote drama.
Yes, and made up beef, I would say. Because there's never a point
what
where...
What did you say made up
Yeah,
beef?
there's never been a point where Uhuru
statement.
Kenyatta has ever come forward and said, His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua did this to me. It's always been other people purporting what has happened, and Uhuru Kenyatta has never spoken about himself. You've seen both gentlemen defend each other publicly. We've had instances where Rigathi Gachagua said people who are fighting Uhuru Kenyatta should stop. And Uhuru Kenyatta has been seen, even during Jubilee's NDC, say people need to stop fighting His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua. Therefore, I am very happy that now this is a conversation that we're having as Kenyans, that two great gentlemen are now on the same table, and it's now for people to see, because this was happening back then.
Okay, so can we confirm that it's a deal sealed?
I wouldn't say that, because they haven't come out to say themselves. It's important and imperative for them to come out.
On a scale of 1 to 10?
Allah.
Okay. Mheshimiwa Kithure, you want to say something?
Yeah, this is extremely sad, indeed very sad for a country, that a nation that is trying to unite itself as Kenya, while others are busy wanting to unite themselves in their tribal cocoon. And this is where the nation is saying, as leaders, let us have a conversation, nationwide. And some of the, headlines that we are seeing today, it's ridiculous. If then the former president knows themselves the former deputy president, then why do you go look for Olusegun or Obasanjo to come and bring some truths locally here? Those are just led by a drama king who was the Secretary General. We've known him doing the drama things. So these are machinations of trying to create some imaginations that there is something so unique that is going to happen when we have combination of leaders coming together from a particular region. And I want to encourage Kenyans that, look here, Kenyans, let us have a conversation as Kenyans, not as tribal cocoons in a corner.
It's very interesting.
And secondly, I repeated again earlier, and I told you, Victor, that the future of this country is going to be a conversation on the agendas. What are you bringing to the country? Better version than what the current government or regime is doing. It is not going to be about, this leader is united with this leader on a tribal cocoon.
Is there a problem if they unite?
That's what I'm telling you. The conversation now going into the future is not much about.
Is there a problem if they unite?
No problem.
Thank you.
No, there's a problem.
Thank you.
Because if the union is on the basis of tribal, cliches, then that is not what we want as a nation.
I think, it's very interesting that Mheshimiwa Kithure runs quickly to come and speak about tribes. Yet when Gideon Moi and Ruto were sitting together, it wasn't tribal. It's funny that they keep doing this, by the way. Even God himself, by the way, is tribal. Two people can speak and we don't have to even bring this whole hullabaloo. Let me speak this. It's only tribal if it's Kikuyu nation doing so. But it's not tribal if your people sit down and speak.
That is not true.
You see, they want to, they rile the community up, they rile Kenyans up when it's the Kikuyu community speaking. There's nothing wrong with people from the community speaking. At the end of the day, if two people had an issue, it's important that people sit down. Even if they seek whatever one they want to do, is it to seek reparation, to seek transitional justice, whatever it is imperative. But this issue of always bringing up tribal narratives, we are sick of it.
Mheshimiwa
Kithure.
Victor,
actually, and the young people of Kenya, that's not what they want.
If you
that's not what we want.
Properly, let me now put it from my version. What we are talking about is the conversation of a group of leaders from a particular region, always talking about that particular region for an agenda of our country. I said that going into the future, the conversation is going to be broader. When you talk about the issue of Gideon Moi and William Ruto, the day Gideon Moi stepped down from being the Senate candidate for Baringo, that was a unique thing, and it was just a day's event, and it just flipped out. It was just for that specific time. It was not something, a conversation of day in, day out, day in, day out. That conversation of tribal, entrenchment of our politics surely is slowly but dying out.
I'm trying to imagine how this thing is going to change the political landscape.
Victor, when I listen to these people, I get perplexed. The only thing which will remove this ownership of leadership, I think we need to have a constitutional change that this presidency should be demystified in the future. The presidency should even be rotational, so that certain people would not have the privilege of thinking that they must be the leaders of this country. We must embrace all the Kenyans. We have so many tribes in this country. We must unify the Kenyans. And all Kenyans must think positively. We must not always believe that presidency must only go to certain regions in this country.
Yes.
We must The premise, our arguments must deviate from the premise that some people own the presidency. And this is what brings about tribal cocoons in this country. You know me, I lead a very diverse constituency where we don't talk about tribalism. If I were to tell you my MCAs, they are from all the tribes. I have a Kamba MCA, I have a Kikuyu MCA, I have a Luya MCA, and then I have a Luo MCA. So it means that this is a real cosmos. We can never say that we want to unite first in my constituency, then we can go for a national leadership forum. No, because we are united as Kenyans in our constituency. And this is what we must preach to all leaders in this country. We must be leaders who accommodate everyone and everybody else.
Absolutely.
So, I think during our times, as we were growing up, you know, I grew up I went to school in Kiambu throughout my lifetime. And most of my friends are Kikuyus. This is the kind of reasoning that Kenyans must have, that this country must change from tribal cocoons to a national cohesion that will bring a lot of unity in our political alignment.
Okay, it's not, let me just put it this way. So what if the combination of, we have Eugene Wamalwa, we have got Kalonzo Musyoka, we have got Martha Karua, we have got Rigathi Gachagua, you know, the united opposition, so that is okay. If they unite, is that okay? Wishimiwa Kithure, Wishimiwa Orero?
Of course, it is okay. Yeah, it is okay.
That is not tribal. So if two brothers come together to shake hands, that is not tribal. I'm just asking.
Let me ask you. If you picked on what Orero has just said,
right?
Even when you're talking about when you're talking about Malwa, you know, there is a constituency behind him.
Right.
Right? And that constituent, somehow, you know, they have a background of whatever nature. When you're talking about Kalonzo Musyoka, there is a constituent, the cousins.
Yeah.
So earlier, I think the conversation going into the future should be purely based on what agenda do you have for the nation, better than that which is already been put on the table.
I think
it shouldn't be the conversation of my brother, the other one.
What is the agenda? I like the way you put it. What is the agenda if they come together?
Correct.
I would like to respond to what the Waishimias have said.
Go ahead.
And I think, you know what we as young people are sick and tired of? Is the pretense that these old politicians keep penetrating.
No, I think we were also young. You must be young. And the young is what age? How old are you?
Allow me to continue with my point. Please don't. No, you know, we are sick and tired of it.
How old are you?
They'll sit here.
How old are you?
They'll sit here.
How old are you?
They'll sit here and pretend and speak about tribal politics, while if I tell Kithure right now to go and run with DCP from where he comes from, he won't. Why? Because UDA is also a tribal party. Because in where he comes from, the biggest consolidation comes from the rift. If we tell a Moshimo from Western Nyanza to run with DCP, it might be hard from him. Because ODM is a tribal party too. Their base is in the Luo Nyanza community. So we need to stop this.
I can say without any doubt that ODM is the only political party.
I did not interrupt you. If you allow me to just finish.
It's a conversation.
If we drop this, and this is what young people are tired and sick and tired of, is the pretense and the lies that this always use media to spread. The truth is, every political party has its strongest base, and DCP's strongest base is in the Mount Kenya region. That doesn't mean that DCP is also, we are not, we have to come from a base so that you can be able to negotiate at a political platform. And again, UDA, ODM right now are talking about shares, the same thing that we went and penetrated and pretended that DCP's party leader Rigathi Gachagua did. He spoke about shares, and they are doing the same exact thing right now. They are talking about UDA, ODM 50-50 shares. It's the pretense that you are sick and tired of as young people. And to finish, for us, what does that mean? For us, what does it mean as Uhuru Kenyatta and Rigathi Gachagua sit down and shake hands? It means that now we are speaking in a unified voice.
even as a mountain, even if we are homogeneous, we all have different expectations, different needs, and they're county-based, because different counties collect revenues from different sources. There are counties that for them it's business, there are counties for them it's agriculture. So for us, we all have to sit down and agree what is our expectation as we front the leaders that we want them to move to 2027. As a region, we've agreed, we've had clowns for representations. If you go to national assemblies, there are those who haven't been able to negotiate and represent and debate in the national platform for us. So what do we want to see? We want to see competent leaders coming from the mountain. And that's why now we are sitting and speaking. We have to negotiate as a region before we move to Kenya.
Okay. Mheshimiwa Kithure, before you continue, you'll also comment on that. But then, what political effect will it have after that handshake?
Nothing. Actually.
If it happens?
Look, first of all, I think it's quite unfortunate and very sad to be able to create a scenario of saying, this is a very old, this is very young. I can tell you, between me and her, my age difference couldn't be any more than 10 years or even less.
Their egos are very hard.
No. You see, the problem is you say that your husband is interrupting you when you're speaking. And so when you try to bring in that aspect, and again, when you talk, you actually go back still, same path of tribalistic politics. You know, she's going exactly there. And she's saying that they are sick and tired. I am also youthful. I am not, I'm a youthful member of parliament.
He's not even 40.
I'm not even 40. You know?
Then why does his ideas seem old?
No.
It is like the old people.
This is where the baboon cannot see the other side of the other one, and they laugh at the other one thinking they are worse off. Now, when you talk about, exactly these conversations of saying you have leaders who now needs to come through that particular outfit they are talking about, that tribal outfit they are talking about, but then you will have the best leaders who are coming to debate in parliament. That is not the point. Just the political parties are just vehicles. Or you can actually come in as an independent candidate sometimes, and you can still work for the people that you represent. And as Aurelio said, most of the cosmopolitan communities that we have within this region, you know, the people you represent are diverse of whatever sort of nature. Yeah. Now, coming back here, I said that the future of Kenya, the present and the future of Kenyan politics, I repeat again, is not going to be tribal. It's purely going to be on the basis of what is it that you are going to bring on the table for conversation, for the greater good of our country. It is not for the language that I speak. I repeat again. In fact, I started my conversation today saying that let's prepare for a technological avalanche of how politics is going to happen in this country. If that then is going to be the case, most of what you want to do, and there's so many people are developing platforms and those kinds of things, that you'll be able to sell your agenda, your vision, what you want to come and do for the people that you want to represent. It's purely based on the contents of your mind, not on what you speak with your tongue. And therefore, I want to encourage the people, and where she says she's a youth leader, that please rise up beyond that youth leader and rise up to the purview of talking about the better view for the people you represent, not tribalistic lenses that you use in every conversation.
Okay. What ideas will be there?
I just want to encourage my sister here.
Okay.
I thought she would come on the premise of the youth agenda. What the youth wants for this country. And that is where she is supposed to base all her arguments. But she's trying to talk and vilify the leaders who she says are old. And she is supporting the same old leaders. I'm seeing the Kalonzo Musyoka, I'm seeing Rigathi Gachagua, I'm seeing Uhuru Kenyatta. How are we going to comprehend that she's aligning herself with the old leaders? Here she's telling us that they are tired of the old leaders. Let her come and tell us that as a youth...
Victor, if you give me the opportunity to speak about it then, because that wasn't the question.
This is what we have as a youth. This is what we want as a country. She would have come and told us that we want to do away with these old leaders of ours from our region. We want to bring youthful leaders with youthful ideas. But I can tell you, my sister, like me, my constituency, my first priority are the youths. If we go with you in my constituency, I think about youth. Because it is about the mind. Youthfulness is about the mind and what you want to do for Kenyans as a youth.
Very good.
And I think that is where we need to base our arguments as leaders. And let us not holistically dismiss the leaders who are not below 40. No, it never goes like that. Great leaders, we have had great leaders. Even Obama was not 30 years.
When he became the senator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let us base our arguments on statistical data and evidential background of what we want to achieve as leaders.
Okay. As you respond to that, Wanjiku, because the question is, so now, it was a made-up beef. Let me take you back to what you said. It was a made-up beef. To whose advantage was that beef?
I think by the current state, because they want to show that we are not working together. There is an issue between two great national leaders, and for them it's a narrative they have been spinning throughout. Yeah.
What is going to change in the political realignment in DCP, in Jubilee, and all that? We are seeing a lot of movements in the two political parties.
A stronger united force, a stronger united opposition. And what else is going to change is that we are going to harmonize our manifesto. I hear people saying we don't have a manifesto, we don't have an agenda. We do. And our Excellency Rigathi Gachagua has been speaking about it. I have been speaking about it. My deputy party leader has been speaking about it. But again, it will come out very strongly when we do our launch, where we are going to be launching our manifesto. Then they can now move beyond. I don't know what narrative they will come up with, because the one-term slogan has taken over the country and the nation. So, moving forward, Mheshimiwa, if I can speak. Moving forward, what do I want to say? DCP's ideology is about intergenerational leadership. When I do young meetings, youth meetings, I always ensure that we have 2 or 3 strong national leaders that we've had that they've served this nation for 20, 30 years with us. So Mheshimiwa here is saying that we should be expunging those 3 leaders, he said, because they are older. We won't expunge. We are going to do intergenerational work. As we bring in more new emerging politicians to this country, because we've had enough of what we are having in the country. Because as a young person, first of all, I'm an abduction survivor. This is what these 2 people don't know. I'm an abduction survivor, and because we've had leaders in this country who support the fact that this state doesn't tolerate dissent. Dissent must be protected if it's true democracy. So moving forward, what do we young people want? That's why we have an incubation hub of DCP for young leaders. And ourselves as young people, we are creating our own youth manifesto, what we want to realize when in 2027 DCP takes government. Yeah. And we are the people who are going to implement it, because young people are running for office. Young people will be employed to save this nation. Because again, and this is one message I tell young people, nobody's coming to save us. We are going to save our own nation, because we've given other people opportunity to save this nation, and look at the mess we are. Right now, the president is forcing young people to go to school, but there is no money. But what is he doing? He was given the money, he took a loan to take young people to school, but he didn't take that. But he didn't take young people to school. Wamekula do. So he needs to justify this money. Wamekula do.
You know, let me ask you, Victor. You know, sometimes don't throw things just because you just have to say. Something Orero says, evidentiary proof. When you say, in fact, I don't want even to get emotional for what she said as the last part. Let me go back to the beginning point where she started from. I said earlier that we are looking forward to hear what agenda they have, maybe in terms of health. We want to hear the agenda of the United Opposition.
Launching their manifesto
Victor,
pretty soon.
Victor, that is the conversation that even in their bits and pieces, we've had them throwing and saying, you know, we're coming to kill Shah. And then you ask them, so what is the other solution you're bringing up from the universal healthcare coverage?
NHIF.
You know, you're talking about education, you're talking about how do you create, you know, say the 5 trillion, you know, fund that is going to create roads across the country, not roads that go on one region of our country, which we appreciate. But when you realize, and Orero will tell you, part of the reasons why we had some changes in some of the key committees, you know, like the budget committee, is because that even in the new dispensation, the government that came in, some particular leaders will still drive, you know, funds to one region of our country. And you're saying, no, we want equitable distribution of resources across the nation. Now, when it comes to the agenda of the young people, I've been a young person. I have a better view of what I know. I'm still within, you know, the periphery of the same. And therefore, I've also had an opportunity to interact with many young people who came in before her in DCP, who were quite close to the former deputy president. Because, you know, I was a very close ally of deputy president. You know that, you know, when he was still deputy president, I used to be, you know, we used to be some of those who were quote unquote being, you know, nurtured. But I can tell you, it is doomed. Now, let me come to an assertion that is made that is very sensitive. When the President of the Republic of Kenya did mention that we want every young person to go to school, you will understand something. The biggest challenge in school is purely the uniform, because the government pays all the things, and I think Orero will be able to say that more, because they are the guys now who are going to crunch the figures. I'm sure he's in the education committee. And secondly is the issue of the food. The government does have food sometimes that are being given out for the arid areas. It will not be difficult for the government to say, for these 80,000 young people, this is what we are going to do. And I think that question was asked even when we were having the plenary in Naivasha, where then members of parliament were keen to find out, what plans then did you have for this segment of these children who are home? They are really extremely needy. And the government has a plan, and we as leaders are seized of that money. So to claim there is money, to claim there is money that was borrowed and was not given out, I think that is the fertile imagination of unmeasured levels.
Okay, I'll come back to that. Mheshimiwa, you'll give us more about education shortly, but let's just come back. Are you afraid of the combination of Mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta, Rigathi Gachagua, the combination of Kalonzo Musyoka, Eugene Wamalwa, Martha Karua, Justin Muturi? Are you afraid of that combination, Mheshimiwa Orero, Mheshimiwa Kithure? Are you jittery about that?
Not really, but before I forget, I want my sister Wanjiku to know that some of us, when we handle our constituencies, if you go to my office, all my employees are youth.
Yeah.
And that can be confirmed. And what we do, so the only thing I don't want to do is to have a wholesome condemnation of people. Yeah, let us talk of specifics. And we cannot, as Kenyans, believe that there are people who have not done anything to this country. There are people who have done so much to this country, despite their ages. Yeah. So let us not have a wholesome condemnation. Let me go to that, we fear the combination of Eugene Wamalwa. I think we all know as Kenyans the ability of all these personalities. We know the ability of Wamalwa. We have been there with him before. I was part of those who campaigned with him, with Wamalwa and all that. I know the ability of Kalonzo Musyoka because I have also been there. And I know the ability of Rigiji because we have also been there. So we don't fear anybody. I think what Kenyans need more, how do we help this country? How do we move forward? What agenda do we have for this country? It's not about personalities. It is about what you do to the people of this country. Like me, if you ask me, what am I doing for Kibra people? Yeah. If you go to Kibra and ask them, what is your MP doing for you? That is the agenda that we need to have. Okay. It is a conversation that we need to have. We don't need to have personalities. When I say like Eugene Wamalwa, how many MPs did this party have? Let us talk about the agenda of the country.
Thank you. The director is on my ear. Okay. When are we expecting this handshake? I'm just quite interested in that.
Yeah, you just wait and see the news.
All right, give us a date.
Yeah, you just wait and see the news. It's coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and what I want to urge the state before we finish is that we need to see transparent electoral process. We need presidential announcement at constituency level and national level.
Okay.
Hakuna kura zinaibiwa around here. Okay. Sisi wa Kenya, sisi young people, we are the ones who are going to safeguard
the votes.
Mheshimiwa Kitur belongs to that committee.
Yes, I
that message is directed to you.
Yeah, it's going to be actually issue of technology. So I can assure you that there will be a lot of transparency in terms of the running of the elections. But you mentioned something very important. You mentioned something very important in asking what is going to happen for this united opposition that is coming in. Let me tell you something, two things actually. One is that in the last elections, the competitor William Ruto, who was the deputy president, had one of the biggest politicians of our nation being supported by then the regime, as it were. That was the late Raila Amolo Odinga. And what did William Ruto sell? He sold an agenda. Okay? So what do you expect now, and we are all looking forward into, is not the union of leaders. It is going to be the agenda. Okay. On every sector of Kenya. And Kenyans are going to deduce what will be in there for us in what you are bringing.
He lies. He's always lying.
You said you had two things. You're done.
No, I'm done.
No, these people, my constituency is just across here. And I must say hi to the Kibra people, the great Kibra people.
Hi. Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa Member of Parliament, Kibra constituency. Asante sana for always coming to the show. Wajiko Thiga is the youth president, DCP. Thank you so much for making time, as well as Member of Parliament, Nandi Hills, Mheshimiwa Bernard Kitur. Gentlemen and lady, asante sana.
Thank you.
Let's go out there and tell people to take their registered voters cards.
Correct.
Is that okay?
Absolutely.
We are doing that. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Victor. Good morning.
Any